Sure.
In the HAAS
Hey guys.
with the Swoops.
What up?
Sean Kelly is also here. Welcome, Sean.
Hey guys.
And the one and only.
Hey, Al Robs.
How you doing, Al?
Hey, Al is all right.
You doing all right?
Hey, Al is all right.
Okay. You missed our cookout on Saturday.
No, I didn't miss it. I wasn't coming out. Them mosquitoes, man, they don't like me.
Yeah. We were cooking, though. We had the
I
hot
know,
dogs, the
yeah,
hamburgers.
yeah,
We did
that's
the whole
good.
thing. We had the
You-
Coronas.
Hey,
Okay.
you sponsor a lot of shit over there.
All right. Quick getting into it here. Sponsor money.
Oh,
This
man.
week is sponsored by Euro Summit Invitational.
Damn.
So as
I'm trying to go to that.
You should go to that.
I'm going to that.
Are you?
That's cool.
I'm actually going to attempt to get the brown card to that.
Oh goodness, we've heard enough of that.
I know,
thing
right? It's like the
already.
same thing
We're gonna
all the
bring
time.
that up. But Euro Summit Invitational. So what we do is we basically I call somebody and I go give me a couple dollars and they give me a couple dollars and we say that they sponsor this and then we give the money to some sort of animal cause which Sean is in charge of. So $200. Where's it going, Sean?
Ooh, I don't know, man. We got a new kitten at work that we just found today. So there's that. I could bring it to the Bloomfield Animal Shelter. What do you got? You got anything?
I got the $200
Okay.
that we gave you last week.
Oh,
I got no proof that you gave that to anybody.
Oh man, you know what? It was Labor Day weekend, so
Did you spend the money?
on animal related stuff.
You got to get that to the animal shelter.
No, I gave it to my good friend Joe Malone, who does a bunch of cat fostering.
Did you take any selfies?
I gave it to his. He was doing a garage sale, and I couldn't buy anything because everything was taken when I wanted to get it. So yeah.
I need selfies of that getting handed to an animal because you know I'm an animal guy. So let's get it together.
We'll do it.
Okay. So Al stays on track. Greg, introduce yourself. Government name.
No.
Okay. Al, this is my friend. Everybody calls him Swoops.
Yeah, my name's Greg.
And he does custom work, right? He does some fabrication stuff. He makes some parts for Volkswagens, and he also does some custom builds. So, Sean, can you show Al? Because Al's got to be brought up to speed. Huh?
You said custom build?
Yeah, he builds like custom cars, and everything he does is like with a lot of love. As a matter of fact, let's go back 20 years ago when we met.
I don't want to.
Okay.
No, we can. I can't believe it was 20 years ago. Right?
It
'Cause
was
I'm-
in. It was
yeah,
in.
it was almost 20 years ago now.
No, it was more.
No, it's not more. Because I'm.
It was
So it was when I was in my
2003.
early.
That's 20 years.
2000.
3.
No, like 2004 or 5. 'Cause that's when I had that car and I met Scott.
Okay. So we met. It was kind of cool because we didn't really chat or whatever.
No.
Who were you with?
Okay, so
Your brother or something?
Yeah, so I used to go down to Boonton, New Jersey. Is that where his shop was? Yeah.
Yeah,
So to like get really into more detail on this, so my girlfriend at the time went to school with a kid who was the son of whoever Scott rented from, the older gentleman.
Ken Molesky.
Whatever. Yeah. So his son was like, "Oh, I know this guy who works on Volkswagens." Blah blah blah. That's how I got in touch with Scott.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought my car there to do. I know I got like cams at one point. Did like a bunch of whatever. I brought it there a few times, and one of the times he needed something, and that you showed up, and that's when I had like briefly met you, and you saw my Jetta that had the license plate that you like on it.
What was the plate?
It said Dirty Dub.
We used to call you the Dirty Dubber.
I
Scott
remember.
would be like the Dirty Dubbers coming down. So,
And yeah, I used to go down with my brother because he worked on my brother's car as well.
and you told me recently in recent years that you actually hung out with Scott a little bit, right?
Yeah, like I used to talk with him on the phone fairly often. Then like
He
when I
was
go
so
down,
cool.
yeah, when I go down, we'd be like, "Oh, cool, let's go grab something to eat. Let's go do this." And we got along like really well until he like right around when he said he was like gonna move, and then he moved back in with his parents, and then he just started falling off like real hard.
Yeah,
and
things happened.
Yeah, and then
Scott had like one. I don't want to say one of the first, but he had like a Mark II VR6 Turbo, kind of before a lot of people did that. I don't want to say before everybody did
no,
that.
That's how he said he whatever's doing like
Yeah.
he lost his driver's license,
Like
doing like
a million times.
Yeah, yeah.
But he used to build cars and rest in peace, Scott
Yeah.
Carpenter.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. So and then he kind of disappeared, and I don't think that we ever saw one another for years and years and years.
I ran into you a couple times when they had show and goes. Show
Yeah,
and goes. 'Cause I remember
'cause I
like,
started doing that.
because you used to rent the U-Haul trucks,
It was
and
out
then
of
you
control.
would just screw your sign right into the side of them, and that was it.
It was those were fun times. But
It was so much easier
that was a lot
than
of work.
It was
that
so
was
much
a lot of work.
For me, it was a lot easier.
One year I had all this audio equipment. I like bought out this stereo shop that my friend had, and I had all this stuff, and I really didn't have any idea what any of it was. Because I don't know that type
Yeah.
of stuff, and I just had this stuff, and people were like, "How much?" And I don't really even know what that is, and I was selling the stuff. And then years later, I was in Barnes and Noble reading a magazine, and you were in there.
Yeah, I was in PVW a few times.
And I thought that it was crazy, and I always bring this up, and I read that you painted the intake manifold with like a brush or a roller or something like that. Is that true, or am I dreaming
no.
that?
So the first feature in PVW was with my Silver Mark IV, and that engine bay was actually rattle canned, as was the intake manifold.
Okay.
But the engine bay, I by chance found that Rust-Oleum, whatever one of them, I had a silver spray paint can.
Mhm.
It was like exactly reflex silver, like exactly, just by chance. It's like, oh, it's silver, and we just spray it here. It came out perfect.
And you like hid all the wires in that without
Right.
taking out the engine, I read.
Right. So
That's cool.
So I started getting really into like shave bays, like seeing like these tucked harnesses and trying to understand where everybody was putting everything, and like really like I liked the way they looked, and then it was a whole big thing of like just trying to figure it out. Like I want to figure this out, and everybody was doing it to like 1.8Ts, like 1.8Ts, 4 cylinders, whatever. Those were so easy.
You had a
quote
24
unquote,
valve, right?
A 24 valve. And when I first got into that, I could only on the internet only think of like 3 other dudes that were doing like tucked harnesses in a 24 valve. Granted, there could have been other people doing it, but on the internet, on the forums, there was only like 3 dudes. So I was like, all right, start doing some planning, this, that, and the other thing. I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to, route the harness through the upper frame rail, and I'll just figure it out. So like I took the tape off the harness, I labeled every wire, and I cut it. And I was like, all right, no turning back now. Got to make this shit work.
How scary was that chopping into the harness?
I was like, whatever, I have no choice.
Because
so once I did it, that's it. I got to
let's
move
also
forward.
point out. So Al, he had a fairly new car, because this was what year? 2003,
that car was the 2003,
and it was in
this was-
2006 or 7.
Yeah, so it wasn't an old car.
No, like you had a payment on that car when you
yeah.
did that.
Yeah, I had a payment on that car when I scrapped it.
That's crazy. They're not supposed to take it like that.
Well, they didn't know that.
Fair enough. So, you chop the harness, it gets in PVW, you start to build a little bit of a following, and like how does that morph into like the machining type stuff that you do?
So the whole thing started, as far as like the business aspect of it goes, from Air Ride. So Air Ride started becoming popular in the Volkswagen community, and Air Ride is mostly plumbing, and I was originally a plumber, so it interested me. And then I saw people did like hardline trunk setups and things like that, and that really got me interested. But I didn't want Air Ride for my own vehicle at the time, though my brother and now my current brother-in-law, he's now my brother-in-law, they both had installed Air Ride on their Mark IIIs, and I did like trunk setups for them, like I bent tubing and stuff. And then after, you know how things go, like I built a setup for them, built a setup for myself eventually when I went to Air, and then I had another friend on Air who wanted a hardline setup, and then it went into like, oh, this friend and this friend of a friend, and then me and my brother were doing air installs in the driveway. And that's actually, doing air installs is how I started building the name up. Originally Hardlines by Swoops, like that's how that name came about.
Is it officially just SwoopsBUILT now?
So it's...
Show him, please. Sorry to interrupt. Can you show Al some of the different projects that he's done on his Instagram? Al needs to be... if you consider Al like the general audience that doesn't know exactly what SwoopsBUILT is, we want to inform the public, right, Al? We need you to know. You got to speak in the microphone, dog. Right into here. Right in there.
It's kind of all over the place. a little bit, but
we want you to be brought up
What do
to
you do?
speed.
TIG welding?
what?
TIG welding?
Yeah, everything. I hate MIG welding, like with a passion.
That's all I do.
I hate it.
Sean, you don't weld anything.
I hate MIG welding.
Sean, you don't weld.
This is there's some conflict going on right now.
All right. So
So I was doing hardline setups. Oh, so the business is legally Hardlines by Swoops Fabrications Inc., and that's really, really.
do you have any
Long.
questions, Al?
Yeah. You know, like I need a set of harness for my cow, man.
You do
Somebody
need
gotta
Al
take
needs
the
a harness. Didn't you just buy the harness for that?
No, I got the
What kind of car do you have?
a 208 Dodge.
And what is it? The harness to the coils is fucked
I got
up.
the computer.
I gotta watch my.
I got the computer, but like.
Could
some-
you wire that up? He needs an engine computer harness for a 2008 Dodge.
Can I and will I? Two separate things.
Okay, you gotta just buy it out. You're beat.
I don't
beat.
do.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard.
You gotta buy that.
I know.
No, you won't, Sean. So,
Man.
at what point and what like kind of makes it happen that you're like, yo, I'm gonna rent a spot and this is how I'm gonna try and make a living and I'm not doing plumbing stuff any longer.
All right. So
What year is that?
okay. So
Did I jump too far ahead?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
that's fine.
It's-
I'm
I've
gonna
had, like-
answer that question.
I've
And
had
then
like
I'll go back to the
19
beginning
coffees.
of this. Yeah.
And there's 3 more over there.
Are any of them black?
Yes.
Then I want one.
Let me-
Not right now. Just put one aside for me, please.
Just put one next to him so
Okay,
it's an
fine.
easy
Hey,
grab.
bro,
That product
If
placement.
you do all of that kind of work, why you can't make the harness? Well,
Because that's not what he does. He does what he likes to do, and he doesn't like to
Oh,
make.
oh,
He's just
I
not.
see.
That's not his thing. You know what I mean? Sorry, Al. Somebody else will do
Do you
it.
do any motorcycle work, or is it just cars?
Yes, actually, I have a motorcycle in the shop right now. Who I got this contact from Nick. He recommended him to me because Nick does a bunch of polishing for his motorcycles, and then he got in touch with me. And right now, I have a bike in there doing a bunch of hardline plumbing. So like for the just all along the chassis, along the fork, for the oil, basically hardlining as much as I can, and then building a titanium exhaust system for it. And this will be the second titanium exhaust I built for one of his motorcycles.
Oh, hell yeah.
So like, pretty much as far as like what I do, as long as it's custom and not body work, I'll do it. Like I like custom. I only do custom work. So if it's custom, that's it. If you want motorcycle or car or whatever, like I've done work on boats before too. Like,
cool.
And then yeah. But to step back to answering the original questions, doing the like air installs in the driveway. And then at the same time started doing once I did the first shaved bay in the silver Mark IV, that's when people after that started reaching out here, more and more to do other things that were not air ride related. And this was on my parents' driveway, like under canopies and tarps and things like that, because like it's outside.
How did they feel about that? Did they clean your shit up?
Like me and my brother wouldn't leave shit around. Like we lived on a busy street across from a school, so like we would.
You grew up in Long Island?
Yeah, I grew up on the South Shore in Nassau County. I lived there all the way up to 2020s when I moved. Beginning of 2020, I moved upstate. But did the air install thing, and then I bought a house with a driveway and a small garage, and me and my brother were doing like air installs like every weekend. And then I was also doing a bunch of welding and other fabricating and building parts for car, whatever it may be. And then I got to the point where it was too big for the driveway, and at that point, I'm on Long Island. My wife, who's from upstate, had moved to Long Island. She absolutely hated Long Island, like everyone from upstate hates Long Island. So we were talking, and she said
Do you hate Long Island?
No. I love upstate, but I don't hate
Upstate's
Long Island.
got to be better, right?
Hell yeah. Catskills, come on.
Upstate is slower. So like
That's so much nicer.
it is, but I'm not used to it. I didn't live in that. I lived
Everybody
going,
does 15.
Like it's just stores don't open till later in the morning, and they don't stay open as late. Like for instance, plumbing supplies on Long Island, they open at like 6 a.m. The metal supply like 6:30, whatever, early. Here everything opens earliest at 7:30. Like there are coffee shops that don't open till 8 o'clock. Like yo man, can't have that. Like Well, I'm already.
And you get to this-
I'm already 3 hours into my day.
Yeah,
at 8
you're
o'clock.
still on Long Island time too. Do you think that because you said earlier that you're like I'm at the shop at 5:30 in the morning, and do you think that might get later and later as the years?
No.
I like early.
No, I like early too because there's less distractions in the morning. Like,
I just feel at peace in the morning.
yeah,
At,
see, like
at night, I'm done.
see, when it gets to a certain point of the night, like late up into the night, I become incredibly productive. So what I try to do is get to the shop early to try and like catch like that feeling of like being, because like if I'm at the shop, say I have to work late, right, and I'm gonna work from like 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. just because I got shit done, right? Those 5
Do you
hours.
work those hours?
Occasionally I have. And I've also
Really?
worked through the night before and stuff like that. Yeah. But like those 5 hours, like if I worked say from 11 to 4 because whatever, I will get more done in those 5 hours than I will in a regular work day because during those 5 hours, no one's coming to the door, my phone's not going off, my wife and son are asleep, so I'm not missing out on any time with them. Nothing is going on. I could just work. I absolutely love working at night or like early. Like, so like I try to work now in the early morning to try and like capture that working late at night, but during like regular business hours.
I feel like I get nothing done all day when other people are here, but when I'm here alone and early in the morning, like
Right.
4 or 5 in the morning
Right.
to say 7 or 8, I get pretty much all my work done
And
then.
that's like we were talking earlier where I said I stopped doing emails first thing in the morning and I just start working right away because I'll be more productive right away before any sort of distractions come in or deliveries or whatever else going on. The car business doesn't have to be stuck on Long Island. Like people bring cars from out of state for air installs. Like I don't need to be specifically here. And I worked for my family at the time and I had worked for my family for since I was a little kid, but like seriously for about 15 years. Then I was the service manager and everything. And then I worked with my brother. We worked for my father's company. My wife and I decided that we were going to make Hardlines by Swoops at the time, like a legitimate business, and then move off Long Island. So I spoke to my brother to make sure that he was interested in taking over our father's company. Because like
To keep the family thing safe.
right. So say
Yeah,
my
yeah.
brother decided he wasn't going to do that, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I would have stayed with that to keep that business going because it supports a large portion of my side of the family. But my brother said he wanted to take it over. So I'm like, all right, great. And I spoke to my father, and I'm like, I'm eventually going to be phasing out of this company.
How'd your dad feel about that?
Holy shit! He
Was he pissed? He thought you were gonna.
So it's not pissed like he started yelling at me like, oh, what the fuck are you doing, blah, blah, blah. No, it was like, all right, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. Because my father did just that. He worked in the plumbing union, did side work, and then he's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to work for myself. I don't want to work for anybody. So I'm doing essentially what he did. So you can't get mad at me for doing what he did. But so now this part of the conversation is around 2008, 2009. We rented our first shop space that was this absolute shithole
Where?
in Copeg on Long Island.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
I don't know where anything is.
It's
over
in
there.
Suffolk County. It was anywhere from 25 minutes to an hour from my house, depending on traffic, because Long Island. So what I did for the first while was I'd work at my family's business is AJS. So I'd work at AJS in the mornings till like 12, and I would go home for like an hour, and then I would go to my shop for the rest of the day, so that because there's no replacement for me at AJS. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna.
You got to work your way out slowly,
Yeah.
right?
So, but now that this answers
Fucking hot in here.
the how my dad took it is that after. So okay, we moved in January of 2009. Right? No, 2014. 2014. I don't know where I got that from. 2014.
It's been a long
January.
day.
Yeah, man. January of 2014. Moved into this first shop space. We were there for 7 months. Got into this huge argument with my landlord, who we ended up getting lawyers involved and everything.
Oh, my
and
God.
It was bad.
That's terrible.
So one weekend, group of friends went there, took everything out of this building, and put it between my house and friends' houses, and just like got out of the building.
I thought you were going to say a group of friends went there and beat the crap out of the
No,
landlord.
no. This guy used to drive around in this. It was resprayed pink, Mercury Cougar, like one of the newer ones.
That's
that
a
was
little extra. Too much. Zeus, come here.
Yeah, oh my God, it was terrible. Renting that shop was like a really good learning experience of like, these are all red flags. look for them in the future because all of them were right here.
I had some
Like,
experience
It was
renting as
so
well.
bad, and like looking back on it, it's like we needed a spot, and we just took whatever we can get, and like in hindsight, it was absolutely we missed so much. It was the place didn't have a bathroom, the roof leaked, it was in like the worst spot. It was the back of a building, part of the doors were like rotted out in the bottom.
Yo,
and
our
there was-
second shop had like a prison bathroom. Like, would you call that a prison bathroom? It was pretty terrible. Our second shop there was no sink. There was like the toilet water would freeze.
Oh no,
Like,
I had no heat. I had one light.
it was terrible.
I did have a window though.
What kind of work are you doing at that point in the first shop?
Okay, the first shop was like I was doing some air ride because air ride was still like popular and I was still known for doing that. But I was doing, at that point, I started doing some motor swaps, and that's when I did the V8 swap into my brother-in-law's B5 A4. That we did like a full S4 like driveline swap, and he did the bumpers and everything. That's
Where'd you get all that stuff?
my brother-in-law sourced.
That's
all of
fucked
that.
up.
Well, actually, no, sorry. He got the
We're in the
motor.
business,
He
you
got
know.
the motor out of my best friend Nick's car, and then Nick, not Nick from MPB, my other friend Nick.
If anybody's actually listening to this, please just buy the motor swaps here.
well,
Don't
yeah, of
source
course.
them,
Well,
just-
this is one friend buying a motor from
Stop
another friend.
playing.
Well, here, this is where my friend Nick should have got a motor from here, but instead he got it from some fucking field somewhere, and it was we took a V8 out of an Avant and put it in the B5, and then we took a 2.7 twin turbo TT and put it in his Avant. That 2.7 was from some field somewhere, and it was a huge turd and never ran right ever, and it was months and months and months of just this nightmare where the V8 that
You
came
didn't
out
really
of-
have a plan to kind of migrate into this engine swap kind of stuff. You kind of
I
just
just-
figured one thing out.
I wanted
and
to do custom work. I want to do shade bays. I wanted to do like wiring harness. I want to do, I do all sorts of TIG welding and subframes and not subframes, like suspension components and exhaust and like I wanted to build custom cars, custom parts for custom cars, and then so we moved to that shop. We were there for 7 months. Got out of there, and then we moved into a spot 2 towns over. Actually 2 minutes from my grandparents' house, which is now my brother's house. So like I had grown up in that area, and it was really nice to like have my shop there. It was a really good shop. The landlord was awesome. The spot was awesome. So we ended up being there for 5 years, and then we moved upstate. But in that shop, we were there for 5 years, and that's when we transitioned from Hardlines by Swoops to SwoopsBUILT, because we started doing very minimal amounts of air ride and lots of either a lot of what we did was people would bring us their non-running vehicle with whatever motor they had in it, and then we do all the
Get a little closer to the
we
microphone.
do all the like we'd either build you your turbo manifold or do all the coolant plumbing or do the wiring harness.
It
or
wasn't
whatever.
very pointed at the time. You were kind of just grooving and figuring out.
Just build. You want
Cool.
custom car parts? Like cool. I'll build whatever you can afford, man. I'll
That's
build
really
whatever
cool.
You can afford.
And
then,
did you turn any work down at that point, or were you just doing anything to bring money in, or just get involved, or learn, or whatever?
no, I didn't really turn much down. But then again, I don't really get inquiries for work that I don't like. I'm very fortunate that like I don't really get much of. But the only thing I would get that I don't like is body work, and I just don't do body work. Like I don't. I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy
Yeah, but you
it.
just recently did.
I'll do.
Okay.
Okay, so that's sheet metal work, which is on like the coach building side of things, where you're taking flat sheet and, forming it into panels. I'll do that because that's on like metal. It's metal work. It's on the side of metal machining. Like it's on that side of the industry. But as far as like swapping body panels and doing any sort of actually body filler body work or things like that, like no, I have no interest in that. I'm not talented there. It just frustrates the hell out of me, so I just don't do it. I'd rather machine. I'd rather weld. I'd rather be running the mill all day or whatever.
Look at this shit
You
out.
know?
He welded this. That's an exhaust manifold.
That's nice.
It's crazy, right?
That's nice.
That
That's
man
nice.
can weld right there. Look at him over there. That's what a man that can weld looks like. See him? Okay.
But yeah, so then
You could build a car.
He could build a whole friggin' car.
yeah, like
That's-
chassis and all.
That's fantastic, man.
From nothing now. Like he could go to the metal supply stuff and be driving away with what he built. You got to talk in the microphone.
My brain's running round and round in my head, wishing I could do shit like that.
Well, you were
Man.
deep into the paving industry.
Yeah,
So
I'm
he
good
can't
at
he
that.
can't
I'm
pave
good
shit,
at
but he can.
paving.
You're good at paving.
Yeah,
He
I'm-
can't pave. He's built cars.
I can build cars that tear pavement
Oh,
up.
That's true. So, was there a particular point that it started to take more direction, or are you still?
Well, like, so cars would come in non-running. We'd make parts for them, and then they leave not running because I'd only handle the fabrication side of it. And then as things progressed, we started getting tasked more with completing your project car. So you'd bring your non-running car, and now you want to pick up a running car. So it started transitioning into that. That started happening around the same time that I started getting like a lathe and milling machine and started getting more and more into
Hold on,
machining.
because this is
We're
we're back from break.
Okay.
Al got some mosquito spray on him. Excuse me, and that's it. So you started taking these jobs. The cars were not running.
Right, so
leaving the shop.
that's always been the way. It's still the way. Like, we don't get running cars. Nothing at the shop runs because it's all long-term projects where we're building like every part for them, and then ultimately they do end up running at the end because that's what we're tasked to do.
Now under your roof, they're running. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So around that transition was also when I started getting into like machining, like turning up. Like, I spent years building things on the lathe before I even had a mill. Like, I only got a mill when I moved into my current shop. So 2020, March of 2020 was the first time I ever used a milling machine. So that was the first. I've never touched one before that. Never touched one before that. Just that was the first time I started using a milling machine. Now I have 2 milling machines and 2 lathes.
Look at that. Look at
and
that.
I make lots of pieces that don't exist.
He made that out of.
What is that? Look
It's
like
it's a
copper.
brake fluid reservoir.
Yeah,
He made that out of
That's
just
nice.
a block of
That's-
aluminum.
that's
Yo,
nice.
your
That's
story.
nice.
Don't put any pictures of me up. Don't be taking my picture.
You took a picture of me.
Did you take my picture?
No, not yet.
Put
Don't
that
take
shit
my
up.
picture. There's
Why
no
not?
pictures of me on the internet.
I have one on my main feed.
I'm off camera. Like, no pictures of me is the rule.
My
That's what it
profile
is.
pic's gonna be you.
I'll hug you goodbye. We're friends. Don't take any pictures of me.
All right. But yeah, so before that, I had a lathe at the second shop. I had a
you
lathe, and I
laughing
used that for like every.
The fuck it? Are you good?
I'm changing my Instagram profile pic to you.
I dare. Yo, do you know what Strava is? Strava, it's a really cool app, right? Strava's for like working out.
Okay.
And there's everything is segmented, like all roads and trails and all this. And like I could go for a bicycle ride and it tells me what my time on that road was against other people.
Okay.
And my Strava pick is him.
Not just me, but me dressed as I think Prince or
Whatever.
a pirate.
Anyway, no pictures of me. So,
Oh my God.
things get. What's up, Al?
Nick, can you custom build my car?
Your car's already built. There's no.
You can't.
How much money do you have? That's all that matters to this man. He's trying to cake.
Like that, I like to have that custom made. Like I like the Dodge. I
Yeah, the
like
Dodge
that.
is cool. We're mostly Volkswagen and Audi guys, though. You know that.
I like
I need that
BMWs.
Dodge.
Sean, you have a Toyota.
How much you charge me to custom build that?
It's Al. It's on an hourly rate.
20,
No, it's on an hour. It's
Yeah,
on an.
that's
Speaking of the
that's-
microphone,
That's not an unrealistic
If
number
I
at
had
all.
it's on an hourly
if
rate.
If I had it, I would do it too.
Me too.
Yeah,
I don't have it
yeah.
either.
I work there and I don't have it.
I like what
So-
you're doing, Nick.
No, Nick is the other guy. This is Greg.
No worries,
Anyway,
man.
it's Al, my
Yeah,
man.
I don't. Totally fine.
So, are you in Long Island now? At that, or did you move?
During this part of the conversation, this is right before we moved. So like I was doing lots of lathe work. So like a lot of the stuff, like I had got like a 4-draw independent chuck for the lathe, so you can hold like odd shaped, like not round pieces in it.
Mhm.
And I was making lots of things on that. And then, so now, to the end of 2019, we got a building. We're gonna move. Started moving everything, which that was an endeavor. We had to transport a total of
You told me about this.
10 vehicles. So it was from Long Island, 2 hours to Fishkill. We had to go over the Whitestone Bridge. We had my friend Jack, who helped me. He had a 2-car enclosed trailer, so he did a couple trips pulling up cars with that. And then he lent me a 40-foot open deck trailer, and I did like 6 trips with that. Managed to get into 2 accidents with 2 different trucks. One was mine and one was his. And then I also
So
took
would you consider yourself a better car builder than driver? Is what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I like.
I like to put it out.
No,
there.
like I could drive. Like I pull trailer. It doesn't matter. But like the accident I got in my truck, I was driving back with an empty trailer, and like it's the winter. It started to like snow a little bit, and you see like all of a sudden I see like the snow like going across the road like it's floating, and I'm like, that's not a good sign. And I go to like step on the throttle just to speed up a little bit, and my wheels spin. And I'm like, I should slow down. I wasn't going that fast. I'm going with traffic. I'm just slow down. I have this thought, and I look up ahead, and there are cars sideways in the middle of the road, and everybody's stopping. So I stop, but I have a trailer behind me, so I don't stop, and I slam into the car in front of me.
You're like, I'm just trying to move my shop.
Yeah,
and make a
so
living here, man.
so I smashed into the car,
Fuck.
but fortunately, my truck like still doing its thing. I didn't break the radiator or anything, so I like pulled over, got the people's information, and left. 2 days later, I'm moving Jack's truck around the block because I couldn't turn around to get the trailer into my lot. I go to move it. It's like a 5-corner stop, and I go to make a right-hand turn, and somebody who was on the left drove across the front of like the truck. Like I can't stop. Like I have a trailer behind me. I just started rolling, and this guy just drove right in front, and the whole side of his car totally fucked. And then the front of Jack's truck got fucked up, but we still drove. It drives. I paid. I got it fixed and everything, but it was just like
Jack's truck got fucked up. Sorry, Jack.
yeah.
Shout out to Jack.
Yeah. So and then
Where's
also,
Jack now?
He lives.
We're still all friends, right?
Yeah, he lives 5 minutes from my house. I hung out with him the other day. Like
Okay.
we're still good.
That's a good friend right there.
Yeah, because actually, I don't know what was worse, either crashing his truck or taking out his parents' mailbox with the trailer the day I borrowed said trailer.
Damn, dog. Somebody keep you from behind
Okay,
the
no,
wheel.
no. Listen.
My goodness.
I picked up his trailer. It was dark out. It was raining. And he left out the part where you can only make a left out of the driveway. If you make a right, the trailer doesn't fit. No one told me that.
Oh, that's on him. That's on him.
Yeah.
So you move.
So I moved. It was quite the experience. It was a ton of movement. So we moved to a new shop. And when I moved, I ended up getting some other equipment rather quickly once I got there, like another milling machine and another lathe. And that
Where does somebody buy a milling machine and a lathe?
So one of the, Marketplace, Craigslist, things like
Yeah.
that. But my big milling machine, a customer of a customer reached out to me. He's like, oh, I need this bell housing repaired on my transmission, blah, blah, blah. Cool, man, I'll weld it up. And he goes, all right, let's talk about the important things. I'm like, what? And we just talk about what? He's like, my shop, like where he works, they're going to get rid of this mill. Do you want it? We'll sell, bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
We'll sell it to you for the cost of scrap. He sends me a picture of it. I'm like, yeah, man,
Yo.
I'll come get it. 30 minutes away. No problem, man. I'll come get it. Went there, and it's this big building that builds conveyor systems for dairy, like milk and stuff. So I get there, already strapped down to a pallet. I back my truck up. They lift it up, drop it right in, strap it down. Perfect transaction. And the machine's fucking fantastic. It was a killer deal, and I
What
lucked out
was
on that
scrap
one.
value on that?
A few $100s.
And what would that?
A few $1,000s.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. So
Yeah.
you get moved in at. Damn, dog. You're not gonna drink the coffee though. It's gonna
Okay.
get cold.
I don't like hot coffee.
It's
so I'm gonna let
it's
that get
room
cooler.
temperature right now.
Okay, well this one's ice, so when this one's not iced anymore, this is still warm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sean, what was that?
It was a little check.
Yeah, he
Okay.
knew what was up.
So you move in there. You're all in there. You're moving and grooving.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And did you ever? Did you? Was there a point? You've been there what now? 4 years.
3.5.
Okay. So did you choose a direction?
Custom. I want to build custom cars, but
So-
like now I am starting to choose a more specific like niche of the industry, where we have a couple of swaps going on that are VR6s into rear-wheel drive vehicles.
Cool.
So
I think this is important, right? Who reaches out to you? Not who's actually reaching out to you, but when does somebody know, hey, I need this done, Swoops is my guy, right?
usually that happens when they can't find anybody else to make what they need. So like a good portion of what I do too is machining one-off items that either don't exist or they did exist and no longer exist. Like like this piece for your machine, it broke, and there's you can't buy them anymore. I'll make that one piece. Or you need this like pulley for a supercharger that has all these weird like features in it to not slip on the belt and to fit a certain way. And
Okay.
whatever. And,
So
you know, like-
somebody doing a project that needs that one-off piece,
Yeah, one-off
you're
piece.
the guy for
Yes,
that.
yes.
And how does somebody work with you? They slide in the DM, they email. What how's it go down?
So I have on Instagram it says no DMs, and the day I put
Do
that
not
up,
slide into the DMs.
the day I put that up, since that day I've gotten more DMs than ever. It's
That's
like they did
awesome.
the opposite of it. Occasionally, though, I will get somebody who will DM us and then send another DM right after, be like, "Oh, I didn't see that. I'm gonna shoot you an email." Perfect. Like, thank you. And the reason why I don't want people to DM us is because you can't search DMs the way you can search emails. And I talk to so many people with on so many conversations with so many details that it has to be an email so I can search terms later on because you're one person talking to me.
Do you
I'm one
auto reply
person.
to the DMs, or you just don't answer them?
No, I know. I respond to all of them. I respond to everything.
That's a hard thing to do.
It's so hard. So like,
I'm putting
if I'm
auto-reply up
talking to
for us.
somebody through DMs that's like a serious inquiry,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, look, this conversation has to move to email. Like, you have to email us. Like, I need there's too many details that's going on in like you can't search terms. So if I talk to you, right, about some turbo setup on your car, okay, and I don't remember your name because I'm horrible at names, I can't search what we were talking about to find your name. So if we're on Instagram and talk about something, I have to wait until you message me because I can't remember who I was talking to.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen often, but it has happened before. It's very important that like we don't have a phone number. I talk to everybody through email.
You don't have any phone. People can't.
Phones-
So is your
email only,
cell sacred?
Yeah, I don't give up my phone number. And then if I have to call you from my phone, I call as a private number.
We were sorry, Sean. We were texting earlier. Is that a real number?
That's my actual phone number.
Okay.
You're one of the few.
Thank you.
I
I don't give
actually-
mine out either.
I actually have the email right here. It's info@swoopsbuilt.com.
All right.
Cool. Look at that.
You got your email and message.
Thank
But
you,
yeah,
Sean.
so people email us either through the website or they'll see on Instagram that we have the link to our email, and they'll send us an email. It's inquiry about whatever they're looking to have done. Some people send pictures, some people more description, and I'll respond to all of them. And a lot of right off the bat, if it's about a big project, I'll ask what people's budgets are to not waste either of our time.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do a VR swap into a rear-wheel drive vehicle and your budget is $5,000, we're not compatible. But I have
understand.
one going on now, and the person right off the bat, he's like, I have 20 grand. I have 20 grand. I'm like, cool. That's a realistic number.
To get a VR in a rear-wheel drive car is a 20 grand's a number?
Yeah.
Really? I
High or low.
I don't even know. I had no
Okay,
idea.
so you're taking a motor that was never intended to go into a chassis. So now
I don't
I'm built-
think it's high.
Right. So
at
now
all.
you're right, but like people. So this is to put things in perspective for certain people. If you're swapping a VR into another Volkswagen, you just bolt on the mounts. It physically fits in the car. Cool. That part's already done. You're putting a rear-wheel drive into longitudinal into a rear-wheel drive vehicle. You're building mounts from scratch, and I'm not building mounts like I'm going to weld this tube to the frame rail and then I'm going to use this bushing and that's going to be it. I'm going to make it serviceable. I'm going to make it like
We're not like taking Legos and just
no.
sticking
So
them
I'm going to
somewhere.
make it where you could. I build cars, right? And I have things, and I want things to be a certain way. I want them to look a certain way.
You're
and
very
then
particular.
when the car's done and you have it, I don't want you touching it. But if you do have to touch it, I want it to be so that when you do touch it, there is no way for a mistake to be like. There's no this is hidden behind here, and you have to take this off and this. No, I don't.
You're
I'm making
really
it
very
as,
particular
as
and meticulous.
efficient as possible, so that when you need to service it later on, you can service it like a regular vehicle, and not have to make all these, not have to have like the directions of all these. No, it needs to be so much thought goes into that, so that you're paying to have a turnkey vehicle that is serviceable, that is efficient, that has parts that you can replace. And like there are shops that they'll build stuff and they'll bury this part under this part under this part to make it hidden and whatever it is, but it's never serviceable. There's other ways to do that. They just don't fit other people's budgets. Well, that's how I'm building cars, and that's how I build cars. Like I build cars the way I want them to be built. That's why you come to me, and that's what you're paying for.
Is there anything that somebody's come to you for that you turned away because you're like, I just don't like doing that?
Yes.
I don't like.
Yes.
What, can you say what it?
So
like
I
that
don't.
is?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now. I do that with like a lot of rust repair jobs because like we live in New York. Like I live in New York, everything's rusted, and I do welding, and rust repair is straightforward. It makes money. You know, like car comes in, I cut all the rust, put panels in, charge by the hour, boom, done. But like I don't want to do that. It's not enjoyable. Like if I'm not slow. I don't need to do that, so I don't do that. I used to do that because I needed to do that.
Would you do it for a friend?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody hit this man up for if you're close friends for rust repair. Friends only.
Friends only. If you don't have my cell phone number, I'm not doing it for you. But there are some other projects like people, you know, like certain. I turned down a couple wide body jobs. Like, oh, I want it to be like this or like this. Like, that's not like how. I'm not feeling that. I don't want to do that. Like, I just.
That's cool that
'Cause,
you're
like-
in the position to do that.
Well, yes, I'm very fortunate I'm
cool.
in that position, but also I'm in the position I'm in because I'm regardless of how much I get paid, regardless of what profit there is on a job or what price was given for a job, like when I used to flat rate jobs or when I under budget, whatever, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, regardless of what was spent, a car cannot leave my building if I am not happy with it, right? So if I have to eat it to get it, whatever, it absolutely cannot leave, because if a car leaves my building that I'm not happy with, that is going to cost me the most amount of money ever. Because if I complete a car, I'm not happy with it, you get your car back. You bring it to an event. You're not standing there explaining to people that the reason why your car is this way is because you only had X amount of dollars, or because something else happened, or you had to change your mind, or I couldn't.
No, they're going to
whatever.
go, this guy did my shit and it sucks.
Right. So if the product can't stand for itself, it cannot leave my building. It has my name on it, right? Granted, Swoops is a nickname, but still, it's my name. It's not like I own a shop that's called HAAS, right? And then I end up going bankrupt or whatever. No one knows. Like, HAAS doesn't say Marco's HAAS. It says HAAS. So now you can leave this business and you can start another business under another name, and no one knows that you're the guy who tanked HAAS, right?
Mhm.
Like, no one knows that. I don't have that luxury. Like, my business is built off my name. My reputation is on my name.
Yeah.
So I
it's
can't
different.
step away from this. Like,
You're not just like slinging some random product that you keep on the
right.
shelf.
But like, I have no.
everything is like your love and your meticulous nature and your.
Right, like
I
there's
get what you're saying. I'm struggling to put it in
basically,
words.
there's no way. If I make a mistake, there's no coming back. I have to. If I end up closing this bit, like say something went wrong or whatever, and things end up going downhill from there, I can't start a new business with any sort of my reputation. I'd have to start a new business with a different, like not affiliated to, no name, like no one would know that it was me.
You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Dude, all of it, all the time.
You can't
All
be
the
too
time.
hard on yourself.
It's not fun.
Al, you looked like you might have had a question. Did you have a question?
Sorry.
Yeah, how many months will take you to build one, a car?
It's going to depend on what it gets, Al.
Yeah, it
It's
depends.
not that simple.
It depends on budget and
The
month.
way I'm
like-
sitting up here thinking is that simple, 'cause like your man good.
Huh?
Your man good on out your south.
The man is incredible. Incredible.
Okay.
Most projects I'll have cars for at least a year, couple years.
Everything I saw was nice, man. I like that.
Yeah. His stuff is beautiful.
Thank you.
Dude, beautiful. He's
but
an
yeah.
artist. He's an artist.
But ultimately, what I was saying, cars can't. If I'm not happy with them, they can't leave because everything has to stand on its own. So then now I won't take jobs that risk is too high on, where like I know how it's going to end up, or if I have a lot of the time now, if you bring me a project and you want whatever done, this part done, but to do this part to do part A, I have to touch part B. I'm going, okay, well, I'm going to touch part B and I'm going to make it the way that I feel it should be, because once I touch your vehicle, I'm now responsible. So I make sure if I'm doing anything to your car, it's doing it the way I need it to be done, the way I'm doing it.
It becomes synergetic in a sense.
Because like
right? Is
I'm
that
going
the
to be
right word?
responsible. Because look,
Synergetic?
if you spend
Wanna
if
sound
you
smart.
bring your car to me and you spend, people spend a lot of money. All right, you're going to get your car back. If there's a problem with it, regardless if I had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to be responsible. So now I make sure that when I touch cars, like we're changing this, this, and this because that's what we can guarantee. If we change this, then we can stand behind this. We know it's going to work. The best example is if you bring me a car on air ride, and you want me to build a hardline setup. It's on air ride existing. Everything's in the trunk. I'm going to redo everything in the trunk, because once I touch it, I'm responsible for it. So if I build this hardline setup and I don't touch anything below the floor and you leave and your relay pops for your compressor, I'm responsible because I touched it last.
Yeah, I understand that.
So I'm going to make sure everything's wired, everything works. And then at the end of it, the customer is ultimately getting a better product. Like everything's gone through, everything's 100% in working order. Like,
and it's you doing all the work. I think you have one guy that works with you.
we have one guy's name's Mike. He works about 30, 35 hours a week, and
Mike didn't want to come on the podcast
Mike's working.
right now.
He should be working right now. I hope he's working right now.
Might have to zoom in on the cameras.
Mike is fantastic, though. Mike is very similar to me, and we don't do well at like actually keeping schedules. So like I'm very like loose with him. You need to work 7 hours a day. I don't care when you come in during those hours, but like you need to work 7 hours a day. So some days he'll come in at 8 o'clock and work whatever minute. He'll work 10 hours. Some days he'll come in at like 2 o'clock and work
is
whatever.
there maybe you don't want to say this, but is there a certain part of the projects that is all Mike, and then
Yes.
and then
So Mike-
and you don't have to say what that is. We're
Well,
not
no.
trying to-
So Mike is a tech by trade, but he started getting into building custom cars with his friends, like motor swaps. He has an LS swapped S14 240, and he did like all that himself, and it's on standalone. And so he tech by trade, and he was very heavy into wiring diagnosis when he was a tech. All right, so now he's a tech, and he's very into wiring. I'm good at wiring. He's better at wiring. He's better at diagnosing wiring. He's also, again, a tech. So now we're tasked with getting cars running. So when you get cars running, you have to make sure the brakes work. You have to make sure the clutch works. You have to make sure idle and all this other stuff. That's where Mike comes in. So
he's like the go over it guy.
yeah, so like I'll build the parts and then he gets them running because that's where he's better. I hired somebody who's better in areas like I don't need someone to do exactly what I do. I need someone who can do what I can't do but need to have done. So Mike is a perfect fit because he can do all that, and he doesn't just have a regular like tech mentality. He understands like the aesthetic. He understands the fabrication. Like I've been teaching him how to use the milling machine and the lathe and TIG welding, and like he's like really good. He's kind of to do what we do, you have to be a bit like eccentric, and that's like if I tell him you have to be here at 12 o'clock every single day or whatever, it's like I don't show up on time. I don't show up at the same time every day. Like, look at man, you want your hours to be 12 to 7. As long as you come in around 12 to 7, cool. Like, I just need you to work. That's
Wait
it.
until you have
And
like 15 guys. That doesn't
see,
work.
I don't ever want that.
Neither do I.
I would like one other employee. Like that would be nice.
To fill what void, so to speak.
A bit more on the fabrication side, like somebody who's more versed in like building like charge piping, exhaust systems, and just general fabrication. Maybe they can run some of the machines so that Mike can then spend more time doing the wiring side, because wiring is the most time-consuming portion of every job.
Do you aim to go to all builds? And are you still going to do the smaller parts and the coolant fittings and all these crazy things that we see that are super cool?
So those I love doing.
Yo,
that
your
stuff.
Instagram stories are awesome. Where you start out with the block
Yeah.
of aluminum.
Like do like not a time lapse, a stop motion in a sense.
I also didn't you do like a lot of question and answer stuff?
I
for a
used to,
little
but
while?
it consumes so much time.
It really does. But it was very engaging. I
Yeah,
read all
so-
that shit.
But like I enjoy doing that because like I get asked like some really cool questions, and like it's fun. You get to interact with like your audience and stuff
Yeah, I
like
think
that. It's a
it's good.
blast. But like, all right, so I put that up. I'm gonna get a bunch of questions. And the thing is, the reason why it consumes a lot of time is because I'm not gonna half-ass an answer. If you're gonna ask me a question, I'm gonna give
I
you
did
a
it
real
one
answer.
time, and I thought it was a lot of fun, but I couldn't. Maybe you do it like once a year, once every.
That's what I
6
tried to
months
do.
or
I
something
tried to
like
do it,
that.
but then it's like, all right, all right, when am I going to do it, right? So am I going to do it on a Sunday when I'm home? So instead of now spending time with my family that I try to do, I'm going to be on my phone the whole time, which I already had a problem with, like being on my phone all the time anyway.
You had a problem?
Yeah, because like I own a business. So
The way you
technically
said
the
I had a
business-
problem, it sounds like you went to like cell phone rehab.
No,
or
but
something
like,
that.
I used to spend like a substantial amount of my time on the phone, whether I was with my family or at work or whatever. Like, because like it's business, right? So I'm like always trying to make sure I have business, and I want like the greatest customer service to always be able to answer people, whatever. And then at a certain point, like it got can't do that. Like it's the weekend, right? If it's Saturday or Sunday, I'm not responding to any of your messages. I'm not. Like I don't need to be working all the time. Like you can message me during business hours, So like I try not to be on my phone. And then like when I go out with my
You probably have a pretty understanding customer base, though, right? Like, do those people?
yeah,
really...
but you do get the people that that like some people will message you at like 10 o'clock at night. Like regardless of regular business hours, don't message the business at 10 o'clock at night. If you want to,
You're not just limited to Volkswagen and Audi stuff.
No, so-
although you love it.
Yeah, so like it's primarily Volkswagens because I love Volkswagens, and like if you have a Mark IV, I'm pretty much not going to turn it down, whatever it is.
Because you love it.
I love Mark IVs. I own 4.5 Mark IVs.
What's the half?
It's an R32 shell, bare shell that I finally got myself a legitimate like stock Mark IV R32.
What color?
Silver.
Yeah, man.
I finally got myself one. I came to get that bumper for this new shell. That's when I came down.
That
So-
one from another one that you're gonna make in
Making a whole
okay,
yeah,
we're
whole
not
thing.
saying
But
that.
so I totaled, unfortunately,
I don't
the
remember
R32,
what bumper you got.
I
That's
picked
how...
up a Mark 7 bumper.
Okay.
But I told the R32, so I got my insurance for it and everything, but it still runs and drives. So I ended up buying a clean titled R32 shell from Brian from One Love.
Yeah.
Delivered it to my shop and everything.
He delivered it?
yeah.
Did he give you a special deal?
Yeah, that he delivered it.
Okay, but how much? So how much was it if somebody
So
wants to buy?
I don't think he would do it for everybody, but all said and done, he delivered the
We're
shell.
not stepping on his toes.
The
by-
shell and delivery he brought to my shop.
Oh my goodness!
It was a bare shell. There's no wires in it. There's doors.
it
no hatch.
rolling?
No. It's a. I lifted it off with a forklift. We used
Okay.
a payloader. Lifted it up off the trailer.
One Love Auto Group. If you
Yeah.
want a Mark IV stuff,
But like I hit him up and he's like,
Holla.
I can deliver it to you. It's gonna be X amount of dollars. I'm like, sounds good, man. Like it's cheaper than me taking the time to drive there. Like, sure, man. Whatever it cost. And he's great. So I got
he's
this-
making a real big push in the community scene.
yeah,
whatever.
Me and him have been talking. We have some other. I want to. We think similarly when it comes to the scene. So we're trying to like work together more in events and like he hit me up for a low show that just passed. He's like last minute. He's like, yo, it's last minute. Can you want to send me some stickers so like I can have it in my booth? And I'm like, I would like to.
You want
but-
some breaking news?
What's up?
He's coming on here.
Oh shit.
You feel me?
That's awesome.
He's coming on here.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
We spoke for maybe an hour at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Maybe did I tell you that? And it's going to be real cool.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that one.
That's going to be cool.
Cool,
I've
man.
never met him before. We chatted
he's
a little
nice.
bit. I think that he does an incredible job at what he's doing, and
Yeah.
he'll be out here.
Nice.
But anyway.
So if it's a Mark IV, pretty much not going to turn it down. Love Mark IVs. But as long as it's custom, we'll take the job on. Like you were asking me earlier about motorcycles, we're on our second like bike build with a titanium exhaust and a bunch of like hardline plumb, like doing what we do for cars into motorcycles.
I'm
Like,
on
put
the
my-
Instagram right now. I see a Monte Carlo right now with a Porsche right behind it. That's
okay,
pretty cool.
so that's from the old shop. That Monte Carlo came in, had a big block like swap in it. That one I did custom AC lines for because they needed specific ones to fit. And now that Porsche that's there is actually currently still in the shop. It left after a while. We did custom bumpers, did some suspension work, did some. Oh, we did a different pedal assembly. We brought the pedal assembly, floor-mounted pedal assembly, got rid of the stock masters and clutch. Everything. Brought it into the cabin, put a roll cage in it, and some other stuff, and then it left. And then it came back for some rust repair, and now it's getting a wide body. All new wiring harness throughout, like going to go to standalone. It's got a full exhaust on it, and then a whole bunch of other new. We did an aluminum fuel tank, from scratch. I built the tank, doing all the plumbing for that. New oil cooler lines, like all up the side of the chassis, because the ones that were on it were crushed. And like it's custom, it's plumbing and things like that. So if it's custom, like I enjoy building custom things. That's all we do. We don't do any sort of maintenance or repair aside from like some rush repair, but that's very minimal. Usually rush repair has to be with other work.
But if somebody needed some custom bracket machined
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
their forklift,
Yes. Yes.
like you're the custom.
Yeah. So like at the last shop, which was in Oceanside, Long Island, the scrapyard next door, they had one of their forklifts, some seal on the axle had sheared off, like the flange sheared off, whatever it was. Went there, measured it for them, and I made them this weld-on flange that they were going to weld into the axle and be able to put the original seal back in it. Like that was a one-off thing. You can't buy that part. You basically you'd have to scrap this, $80,000 machine for this one piece that sheared off. Granted, it happened because people weren't maintaining it, but still, I made the one part and I did it. And like I
Save the day.
yeah, and like I was saying before, a local customer brought in the axle from his tractor, snapped, and there's no replacement. So I welded it up. I balanced it as best I could on the lathe. It's an axle for a tractor. It's not going fast.
Yeah.
And he was super pumped. And when he brought like, where else is he gonna go? And now from that guy, he happens to be in the muscle cars. So I've seen a bunch of his other cars, and he recommends people to me, and now I get other business from that.
Whatever it is, custom. This is the guy.
Yeah, like,
this is the guy.
I-
Volkswagen, Audi, any car,
As long as it's custom.
something you can't get made for your project, whatever that
Yeah.
might be. What's up with this brown car? What
I
are we
own
doing?
it.
What are we doing?
So this every year, it's I'm gonna get to it this year. I'm gonna get it running this year. Every year, it's been
What
that way.
state is it in currently?
Pieces. So up until this past March, it was a fully assembled car, and it just sat in my friend's garage, like stored there for quite a few years. It hasn't turned on since like May of 2015, I think. Instagram has it on there, so hasn't turned on, but it was all together. So this year, finally started making the push. I was like, all right, I moved the car closer to my house that my friend Nick, who I mentioned earlier, he lives 7 minutes from me, so I store it at his house. And I pulled the motor out there. I have another motor at my shop that's a donor, like a temporary motor going in it. I have another built motor that's eventually going in it, but that's like later. Right
What
now,
motor are you putting in it?
another 2.8 24 valve. So
Damn,
like,
can't we get you're the custom guy.
yeah, but it's my brown. If I'm gonna do something different, I'm gonna do it in a different chassis, like a different car. Like this is my brown car, and my brown car
We
is.
got 2.5 turbos here.
I know.
We got
Dude, okay, I
We
don't
got
want to get in this conversation because
twin
the
turbo,
last time I was here, you had that motor.
which one? The Daza motor?
Whatever, yeah, you had whatever it was. You had one.
There's
and
like
then,
10 of them
And then you
here.
had on the rack was like a Mark 6 Golf R, like 2-door. So like before the 4-door was a 2-door one. You had that on the lift and on the racks, and I was like, oh my god, I would love to do like that swap into that chassis and like make all
Why
that
don't we
work.
get crazy here?
Who's funding this?
You probably. I mean, it's your car.
I know, but like
I'm
I
not
don't.
funding it.
Right.
I'll hook it up.
But
You
now,
know I'll hook it up.
now, do I want to build? If I'm going to build another car, do I want to build another Volkswagen, or do I want to build something different, or do I want to build a Mark One dually with like a 4BT Cummins
All
in
right,
it?
here's the question. The real question: is this brown car ever going to run again?
So right now, I'm like super pushing hard to try and make Euro Summit, mostly because it's the last event of the year.
Yeah, he's and it's also the
last
Euro
event.
Summit.
It's the last Euro Summit.
last Euro
yeah.
Summit.
So, but like my car doesn't take priority. But this year, really got into it. Took the motor out of it. I have a donor motor that I tore down with my son. Like we put up a bunch of like stories and reels about like, because that's another thing too. My son's 9 now, and I want to do it with him.
Does
And-
your son have social media?
No, he's
No.
9.
I don't know what kids do. I don't know any 9-year-olds.
Okay.
I
Well,
thought
there
you
are-
said he's in 4th grade.
He is in 4th grade, and there are kids with like
Hold
cell
on,
phones
your
and
son
shit.
is 9, right? Does he have social media? I don't know what age kids get this shit.
Does your kid have a cell phone? All right, mine does not.
No, that's
No.
probably a better move.
Well, because I try to do like kind of how I was raised, right? Me and my wife were raised very similarly, and like, yeah, he has to know how to use phones, and he has a Switch and stuff like that. Like, you have to be able to. Okay.
no
noted,
online
but
gaming. Okay.
he hasn't gotten into that yet, so it's like, we try to keep it where like you need to like do stuff and like be a kid and not be on a screen all day. Like you can't do that. So I bring him to work with me, and during COVID, I brought him to work with me.
I think it's crazy that you off camera have kids, by the way, because I see us all somewhat as adolescents. Like, we're still all very much figuring shit out, and then, like, you guys are responsible for other people's lives.
Yeah.
That's
And
weird.
I love having a kid. I love being a father. It's awesome. I absolutely hate that I now have to worry about the future. I didn't have to worry about the future before. Didn't have to worry about government, the earth, anything. I didn't have to worry about the future because I'm only going to be here for 30, 40 more years. Cool. I don't have to give a shit. Now I have a kid. So now I have to care
Do you
about
think
the
you're
future.
going to make 30 more years?
I hope so.
Oh, my God, I don't. For me, whatever.
Well,
the reason I asked
the thing
if
is,
you're...
though, I have a kid now, so it's different. I want to
Fair.
be around forever because I have a kid.
The reason that I asked if he had social media is because I think it would be a cool thing for him to put stuff on your social media and like filming dad in the shop.
Okay, well, see, that's different. Now, I like that idea, and my son has
Thought that would
at
be
one
cool.
point showed interest in like filming stuff. Like we bought him like a little camcorder and stuff like that, and he was filming things for a while. And then we tried to I don't push things on him. Like if he's interested in it, we're gonna try to run with it. So he's interested in like cooking, and my wife's really into like baking and cooking, so he's like into that. Like
That's
he'll make himself like scrambled eggs like all on his own.
Nice.
I didn't know how to do that until I was within the last 10 years.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, man. I can use a microwave like no one's fucking business. Like I can make almost anything in a microwave.
You have an air fryer up there
I don't.
in
no.
upstate New York?
But like in my office,
Do they have those
in
up
my,
there yet?
Yeah, in my office, right? I have a microwave and I have a toaster oven. I'm like really good with those things. And then outside of that, my wife handles everything because she's like a really good cook and really good at baking, and she enjoys doing that. So she teaches her son. So like, he'll wake up and go downstairs and make himself eggs. Like, that's wild. Like, he's 9 now, but this is when he was 8. So an 8-year-old went downstairs, turned on the stove, put the pan on, put the stuff in the pan, the whole thing. Didn't light the house on fire. Didn't burn his arm. Made himself eggs. That's crazy to me. I didn't do anything like that. Like, I could put the toast in the toaster and make the toast. Like, I don't like. It's crazy. I
That's
think that's
wild.
fantastic. So like when he gets into stuff, like we make sure we like just try to keep him
Can
going
your
in
kid
it.
cook? Your kid's 9. Your kid can cook?
But could you cook at 9?
I could.
Like I couldn't. That's why like I
Yeah, I did.
see.
all
I
that
also
shit at
didn't do
9.
laundry until I moved out. But my argument to that was because of the plumber. I can install the laundry. I can install your washing machine. I can install your dryer. I don't need to know how to use them. Like I can install them for you.
Fair enough.
I don't need
Yo.
to know how to do my own laundry. But,
Let's before we ramble too long. Do you gentlemen have any questions? Because we're going to wrap it up.
I don't got
One at a time, gentlemen.
We'll both go at the
One
same
at a
time.
time, gentlemen.
Are we all going to talk at the same time?
One at a
We'll all
time.
talk at the same time.
Al,
I'm going
you
to talk over
first.
Marco now the whole
All
Right
I
time.
now,
can say about my man over there, he is
He's the
awesome.
man. He's the man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
know.
Yo, this is off topic, and I'm
Oh,
not to be a
my
smart
God.
ass.
I dream about all this shit in that, man.
Yeah, off topic, and I'm not
Sure.
even being a smart ass. What's going on with the hair? Those highlights, lowlights, frosting. What the you looking good?
I guess they'd be considered highlights.
Who's doing that?
Because
for you?
like my local salon woman.
And you
I
go
don't
in
know,
there and you're like, make-
stylist. Holy shit, stylist.
stylist,
Oh my god.
salon woman. he
I couldn't
said.
think, dude. Like blanking.
So what do you say when you go into the
So
salon?
for a while I was bleaching like my hair like white, and I loved it. But regardless of how well it's done or whatever, it does damage your hair. So I had to like take a break from that. But I want my hair to be lighter, so I did highlights because they're not as
You're looking good, and
abrasive or
that's all
whatever?
that
Thank
matters.
you, thank
You're looking
you,
good, and
thank
you got
you.
a swag, and I have like
How
a.
many years you been into there?
what?
How many years you been into that?
All right, so
The
I've been,
hair or the
The
business?
years, man. You didn't
The
just-
business. The business.
Okay,
the
so
business.
I've been building the name since maybe like 2005. I've been building the name, and then I started taking on customers seriously back in 2009. Like was when I was like kind of being really serious about it, and then
Sean, you're slouching, brother.
Sorry.
and then 2014 was when we incorporated the company and made it like a legitimate business.
18 years out.
But yeah, 18 years. Let's go with that
Sean,
one.
last question.
I know it was like super like
man,
numbers.
That's good.
Last question. What do you like better, upstate New York or Long Island?
That's not business related, Sean. And he already answered that if you were paying attention earlier.
Well, the thing is that he had a question
Long
before.
Island's got
and
better
then-
pizza.
I'm sorry.
I'm not gonna argue with that. at
Who
all.
has better pizza?
Long Island.
Of course. I mean, come on. You're done, Sean. You may not be invited back for a follow-up interview. Thanks for the time, though. What do you want to say? Because we all want to go home.
All right.
You got to drive.
Thank you for having me. This
Dude,
has been a
thank
fucking
you.
blast.
Thank-
This has
did,
been a
you,
blast.
did you have fun?
Yeah, man.
This is.
We don't get that like when I came down to get that bumper. I hadn't seen you in forever, so it was like
I was uncomfortable then when we were chatting because during the day I'm a different human being from say 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. because I'm like watching all of these things, right? And with this, and I'm like looking at
Yeah,
everything,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
not really having. I find myself when we were having that conversation, I was like
No, I understand what you're saying.
autopiloting,
Yeah.
trying to keep it, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to be rude, and I want him to feel
but,
welcome.
but the thing is, you're at work. You're managing.
Yeah,
yeah,
but,
yeah. I
But
know.
yo,
that.
this is really fun for me. I have a
Yeah.
good time doing this.
No, I was like, I don't like. That's what I actually like about the whole like podcast. Like I listen to podcasts all day, like true crime and all this other stuff. But like as far as stuff like this,
I hope that we can
it's-
get somebody to listen to these.
like this is
Get-
it's an awesome excuse to hang out with your friends that you don't ever see.
100% agree.
Because like so my best friend Anthony, we talked about like doing a podcast because
Tattoo Anthony,
Tattoo Anthony.
he's a cool dude.
Yeah, we would talk about doing a podcast, not like a full blown regular
Would he
thing.
come on here?
Probably.
I don't know him well enough. And I feel like, I feel awkward hitting people up. Like, come on my shit
I
that
think
has
he'd
no
entertain
following.
it. I think he'd it's because it's fun like this because we're all from the same like generation / demographic of the Volkswagen community.
Does he have a blue Mark 4R32 still?
He had a blue Mark 432.
Had.
He sold it. Now he's had at the same time he had a Mark 1 Rabbit C with a 1.6 like carbureted 4-speed thing, which I currently have had in my possession for entirely too long,
Oh my
doing a motor
goodness.
swap on.
Can you talk him into coming on here and telling us about that? Maybe we can get him to complain.
Well, he's going to
about you.
listen to this, so
We have to
we'll-
create some drama. Like we bring him on, maybe he talks some shit about you. We get some, people like drama.
Or if you want, okay, I can come down with him.
That would
and
be
we,
so
and we
cool.
can. So the premise of what we're talking about doing a podcast was not like a long thing. It would be like a sub series on like Revival or somewhere or whatever, because the things that happen when me and him get together, you can't make that shit up. You can't make up what happens to us, and we don't do it intentionally, but things just
What kind of stuff are we talking about? Like divorce-worthy stuff?
No, like a lot of it's ridiculous car stuff.
Okay.
And then another part of it is about how a good portion of like a lot of the stuff we know and have learned and everything are through cars and through the car community. So like, it's we talk about it a lot and it's just fun. But but the main thing we were talking about doing the podcast because it'd be an excuse for us to have to make time to see each other.
Why don't you
'Cause,
come
like,
here and do it here? We all sit
So
down.
why-
and
all right,
we
we'll
shoot
see
the
about
shit.
doing that
That
then.
would be awesome. Yo, everybody, hit up Swoops for your custom stuff.
Yes.
Custom builds, custom parts. If you break your forklift or your tractor, or you need a special coolant fitting for your Mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hit the man up. No DMs, email only.
Please.
Thanks for coming through.
Thanks for
this
having
This has
me.
been a pleasure.
had a
Alan,
blast.
Sean, thank you. You better take selfies giving that money to the
I
animal
will.
shelter.
I also just want to add
Thank you.
thanks for sponsoring the Tizio Jam last Saturday.
the
We
one
had
where
a-
you didn't tag me in anything?
I tagged
That
you.
one?
I tagged you in all of the pictures.
Yo, everybody, thank you very much. We're going home. If anybody made it this far, we appreciate that very much, and we hope you enjoy this. Goodbye.